Hello everyone, Weather Jamaica here. Welcome to this updated video on the weather across Jamaica and the rest of the Caribbean. It is Sunday evening, February 4, 2024. Now before we jump into it, please ensure that you guys like the video, share it, subscribe and tap notification bell so that you'll be notified every time I post a brand new video. Feel free to leave a comment down in the comment section letting me know what that's been like in your ear recently. Also feel free to ask any weather related question that you might have about the future of in your specific area. Alright, so let us take a look at this post that was made on our Twitter page. And it states right here, good news, a cold front stronger than the one from last week is expected to bring its cold, windy and wet weather to Jamaica starting this Tuesday, February 6, 2024, through to the weekend. Brace for more sweater weather, as temperatures could drop to a whopping 6 degrees Celsius below normal. And we can actually see the maps right here showing the strong winds that are expected, some of which could get close to gale force. Then we'll have that northerly, then that northeasterly flow as usual. Not to mention the amount of rainfall that is expected, maybe up to an inch or more in some areas. Especially on Monday, we're going to be getting in on that rainfall before the cool temperatures even rise. And we can see the cool temperatures right here represented by those blues and greens, and that should span from about Tuesday through to the weekend. What's causing all of this? It's actually a huge low pressure system that's situated right now across portions of the southern United States, affecting portions of South Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi and Louisiana. And if we actually take a look back at the rainbow satellite images, we can see the clouds associated with that low pressure system affecting those states, not to mention Florida getting in on some of the action. And it's this system that's going to be blasting a lot of cold air from the Gulf of Mexico all the way down into portions of Jamaica starting on Tuesday. And we can actually see the cold front being represented by the blue line right here of the eastern portions of the Gulf of Mexico. There's even a gale warning in place because of the expected strong winds, and we can see that within the next 24 hours this is actually showing 12Z on February 5. That's 7 a.m. on Monday, and we can see where the cold front is going to be located by that time. It should be to the west of Jamaica, right there across portions of the Cayman Islands, Cuba, the Bahamas and Central America. Then by February 6th, Bob Marley's birthday, this cold front should be past Jamaica and affecting or situated across portions of Hispaniola and sections of Panama, and we're gonna be getting in on those very strong winds. We can actually see the gale warning in effect, especially across sections of the Western Caribbean. And not only the strong winds are going to be associated with this system, but the temperatures. We know on this map the temperatures, as we can see, we know the average temperatures are represented by the grays, as we can see by the key on the right. The above normal temperatures are represented by the yellows, oranges and red, and we should be getting in on that normal temperature or above normal temperature even into Monday. This is actually showing 18Z on Monday, that's 1 p.m. on Monday, and we see Jamaica embedded in those oranges. But as we move along, we start to see as early as 7 a.m. on Tuesday, blues, not to mention greens in there that represent up to 6 degrees or below 6 degrees Celsius under the normal temperatures. Might even get even up to 7 degrees, and we see that going all the way out into Sunday, and so the temperature should get back to above normal by Monday, February 12. So this cold front is definitely going to be doing a number on Jamaica. Looking at the Euro model in terms of the winds that are expected right now, we're getting a southerly flow. We're getting some moist air coming off of the Caribbean Sea, and with this southerly flow we're getting in on some amount of isolated showers across sections of some southern parishes as we speak. But as we head out into Monday, we start to see that shift coming in from the southwest with the winds, maybe some 20 to 25 knot winds embedded in there. Then on Tuesday, that's when we're going to be getting in on those strong winds. Look at those yellows, those gold shades, not to mention some amount of burgundy or purples in there representing 25 to 30 knots, maybe even getting up to gale force. And we see that by Wednesday it starts to come more from the north, not so strong, but still coming in at a pretty good clip. And we also see that the GFS is showing something similar, and we know that when both of them are showing consensus, it's definitely in the forecast. And let's start the rainfall. So this map is showing 168 hours on the Euro model, and we do see those blues and the greens, not to mention yellows, that represent a good amount of rainfall that's expected. This map is going all the way out to Sunday, that's February 11, and we see that the GFS model is showing something similar. Some amount of rainfall definitely expected, especially across southern Jamaica where we have those greens and yellows. Alright, so let's just take a look at the surface map of the Atlantic for this evening. We can see that there's not much going on in terms of high pressure. What we do have our eye on is the cold front that I mentioned earlier, that's situated across the waters of the eastern Gulf of Mexico, and it's definitely on its way. If we take a look at the latest visible satellite images, we can actually see the clouds associated with that cold front affecting sections of Florida, the Bahamas, Cuba, and it's definitely going to be making its way closer. And if we take a look at the latest visible satellite images of Jamaica, we can see we had that flow coming in from the south and maybe from the west as well. Some of these clouds definitely had some amount of isolated showers within them, bringing some amount of rainfall to sections of the southern parishes. So we know our southern parishes, we're talking about Westmoreland, St. Elizabeth, Manchester, Clarendon, St. Catherine, Kingston, St. Andrew, St. Thomas, and there's definitely a lot more where that came from. And if we take a look at the latest Cuban Doppler radar images, we can actually see that we indeed have that rainfall, those small particles of greens that we see coming in from the south, definitely affecting sections of some southern parishes as we speak. Some of that rainfall off to the east of the Cayman Islands affecting sections of Cuba as we speak. And there's definitely a lot more rainfall to come on Monday. We're supposed to be getting the most in the way of rainfall on Monday than anything else. And if we take a look at the temperatures right now, we can see that we have 28 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay, 26 degrees Celsius in Kingston, and by about 3 a.m. on Monday, temperature should dip down to about 24 degrees Celsius in both Montego Bay and Kingston. As it relates to the temperature forecast for tomorrow, just like what we showed earlier, this is valid for 18th on Monday. We're gonna be getting above normal temperatures tomorrow, that's 1 p.m. As we can see, Jamaica embedded in those orange colors that represent even up to 2 degrees Celsius above normal temperatures. I know the normal temperatures for the month of February, 86.4 degrees Fahrenheit. That's about the same as 30 degrees Celsius. So anywhere from 30 to 32 degrees Celsius is what is expected. As it relates to the dry air map, we can see that the dry air is represented by what we see on the key at the bottom. So the yellows, oranges, reds, and whites within those reds. And we do see Jamaica embedded in a lot of dry air. Look across the Gulf of Mexico where we see those reds. A lot of dry air associated with the coming cold front. But the air is not as dry across the Caribbean, as we can see those yellows more than anything else. So it explains definitely why we're going to be getting in on some amount of moisture tomorrow. And there's also a lack of Saharan dust across the area where Jamaica is located. We do see some slight shades of browns that represent Saharan dust across sections of the central and eastern Caribbean, not to mention the waters of the Gulf of Mexico. Right there we have those darker shades of browns. That's where we have those vigorous plumes of Saharan dust, and we're hoping that it stays out there and not make it any closer to Jamaica. Keep in mind that this map is valid for 2 p.m. on Monday. As relates to the wave forecast, we can see the waves definitely moving in a southwest to northeast fashion. Definitely going to be coming in from the southwest tomorrow, all courtesy of that southwesterly wind. And we do see more in the way of blues than anything else surrounding the island. So anywhere from 0.5 meter to 1 meter wave height is expected, and that's because the winds are going to be coming in from the southwest, averaging anywhere from 15 to 20 knots. So with all of these winds coming off of the sea from the south as expected, there's definitely going to be more in the way of windy conditions and wet weather for southern Jamaica, Westmoreland, St. Elizabeth, Manchester, Clarendon, Kingston, St. Andrew, St. Thomas. Not to mention sections of some western parishes getting in on the action. So when we're talking about western parishes, we're talking about those parishes in the county of Cornwall. So sections of Trelawney, St. Elizabeth, St. James, Westmoreland, Hanover. And if we take a look back at the Alright, let's look at the visible satellite images before the sun went down. So we can actually see the clouds associated with that cold front right there across sections of Cuba. That's definitely the line that's going to be affecting sections of western Jamaica as we head into Monday. It's definitely moving fast, definitely moving quickly. It should be across Jamaica with that heavy thunderstorm activity across western Jamaica by Monday. So southern Jamaica definitely gonna be getting in on that moist southwesterly flow. Northwestern and western Jamaica gonna be getting in on that line of moisture associated with the cold front that's currently affecting sections of Cuba. Alright, so let us take a look at the actual rainfall that is predicted to affect us. So as stated, the Doppler radar images from the Cuban radar site are already showing that we're getting in on some amount of isolated showers across sections of some southern parishes. It has been taking place since morning across some areas, especially across southern Jamaica. And there's definitely a lot more to come tonight, spilling into tomorrow. We're looking ahead to 1 a.m. on Monday, and we still see those blues that represent rainfall where across sections of western and southern Jamaica. So definitely Westmoreland, St. Elizabeth, Manchester, Clarendon, St. Catherine, Kingston, St. Andrew, St. Thomas getting in on more of that rainfall. And remember, that's 1 a.m. on the Euro and 1 a.m. on the GFS, and we're looking for consensus, and we do have it. Skipping ahead to about 5 a.m. on Monday, we'll still see more of the same. Blues getting even darker to indicate more in the way of rainfall, and we do see some greens and some darker blues across sections of western Jamaica, Hanover, St. James getting in on the action on the Euro. GFS not so much with Hanover and St. James, but definitely sections of some southern parishes. Looking at 8 a.m. on Monday, we're starting to see more in the way of rainfall in the Euro model for sections of St. Elizabeth where we have those greens. It's definitely gonna be a wet day. It might even be considered some monsoon like weather, because we know that in places like India where they have that southwesterly flow that we're gonna be getting tomorrow, that moist southwesterly flow usually triggers monsoon like conditions, heavy rainfall, and it might trigger some amount of isolated flash flooding. Who knows? Maybe some thunderstorm activity, and it's quite concerning for February, which is the peak of the dry season. Skipping ahead to about 11 a.m. another 3 hours later, still have much of the same, more of that rainfall across sections of some southern parishes on both the Euro and the GFS. 2 p.m. not much difference, maybe starting to spill some of those rain bands into sections of some northern parishes. As usual, by afternoon it starts to spread to most of the island. 5 p.m. not much change. Definitely it's gonna be a rainy day for especially southern Jamaica. Look at Kingston, St. Andrew and St. Thomas getting on those darker shades of blues by that time. And even by 8 p.m. we still have much of the same taking place. It's definitely gonna be a wet day. It makes sense that both the Euro and the GFS accumulated precipitation forecast maps spanning from now up until 10 p.m. on Monday is showing this much rainfall, especially across sections of some southern parishes. GFS showing up to 1.24 of an inch of rainfall, or 1.24 inches of rainfall across sections of St. Elizabeth, up to 0.73 of an inch of rainfall across sections of Kingston and St. Andrew, 0.72 on the Euro model, 0.89 on the Euro model as well. So it makes sense. St. Elizabeth getting in on the most of the rainfall, section of Kingston and St. Andrew getting in on the second most. It's definitely going to be quite an interesting day tomorrow in terms of weather, and we're indeed grateful. We're in the month of February. We usually receive 65.4 millimeters of rainfall. So we'll take all the rainfall that we can get in this early portion of February before we head into the drier part where we hardly have any rainfall at all. I'm pretty sure that the Jamaica Fire Brigade is going to be getting some form of relief from this rainfall that's expected, considering that February is their busiest time of year, going around putting out bushfires and whatnot. Alright, so that is it for the forecast across Jamaica. Let us focus our attention on the rest of the Caribbean. So we can see that there's not much taking place across sections of Central America at this time. Colombia and Venezuela getting in on some amount of isolated thunderstorm activity, but we don't see much taking place across sections of the Windward Islands. However, we do see that sections of the Leeward Islands we're getting in on some amount of isolated showers today. And if we take a look at the Doppler radar images, if it's gonna show them, I just saw it just now. Alright, so we can actually see that there is somewhat of rainfall affecting sections of the island. So definite sections of Puerto Rico, sections of the US Virgin Islands, not to mention sections of Guadeloupe, Antigua and Barbuda getting in on the action. However, on the Barbados radar, we don't see much taking place at all. We do see some blues and greens and yellows and purples, but all of that has to do with a glitch that we call ground clutter. So it's not necessarily rainfall taking place, it's actually just a glitch, and it makes sense because the satellite images are not showing much across those areas at all. Most of the rainfall right now is across sections of the Leeward Islands. If we take a look at the wider view of Doppler radar images, we can actually see that rainfall that we mentioned earlier across sections of Cuba, and that's definitely making its way southeastward to affect sections of northwestern and maybe northern Jamaica as well. It's definitely coming in fast. Sections of Florida getting in on the action from that cold front. Not much taking place across sections of the Windward Islands, northeastern South America, sections of Central America at all. Maybe sections of French Guiana getting in on some isolated showers as we speak. This relates to the temperature forecast for tomorrow. This map is showing 18th on Monday, and we do see that we have some very high temperatures in the forecast for sections of the Eastern Caribbean. Very above normal temperatures, maybe up to 6 degrees Celsius above normal temperatures. It makes sense. Very cold in the Gulf of Mexico. We have those almost purples signifying what 8 degrees Celsius below normal temperatures, while it's almost 6 degrees Celsius above normal across the Eastern Caribbean for 1 p.m. on Monday. Majority of the Eastern and Central Caribbean getting in on some amount of above normal temperatures on Monday, not to mention sections of northeastern South America. As it relates to the Saharan dust forecast for Monday at 2 p.m., as stated earlier, all the Saharan dust is across sections of the waters of the Atlantic, the main development region, as we can see represented by those darker shades of browns, while we have those lighter shades of browns across sections of the South Central and Northeastern Caribbean. But it's not that robust at all, and it's going to stay that way. It's not going to be making its way to the Jamaica area at all. As relates to the wave forecast, we can see that majority of the Caribbean should be getting anywhere from 0.5 meter to 1 meter wave height. But we're starting to see the waters of the Gulf of Mexico kick up with all of those purples and burgundy colors, anywhere from 2 to 3 to even 4, maybe 5 meters in terms of the wave height. And that's because the winds are going to be starting to come in. Look at the Euro, look at the GFS. Jamaica and majority of the Caribbean should be having those winds coming in from some kind of southerly fashion across the Jamaica area, Cuba, the Bahamas, coming in from the southwest across Hispaniola, south across the northeastern Caribbean, southeast across the Windward Islands, averaging anywhere from 15 to 20, maybe even gusting 25 knots. But look at those strong gale force winds represented by those gold colors, purples in there as well, getting up to the 14 knots, starting to come in across the Gulf of Mexico. So it makes sense that the wave heights are strongest over there, where the winds are going to be kicking up starting on Monday. And then, as we saw earlier in the video, these winds are going to be making their way closer to Jamaica on Tuesday. As it relates to the rainfall forecast, For the next 24 hours, these are the areas that are going to be getting in on the most rainfall, where we have those yellows, oranges, and reds. Definitely sections of Florida, the Bahamas, Turks and Caicos, Cuba, the Cayman Islands, Jamaica, Haiti, sections of Puerto Rico, the Leeward Islands. If they're not already getting that rainfall right now, it's definitely going to be in the forecast. Majority of the waters to the north of the Caribbean getting in a lot of rainfall. Not much rainfall in the forecast at all for sections of the Windward Islands, sections of the eastern half of the Venezuela area, that right there. Not much rainfall either in store for sections of Guyana or Suriname, but maybe sections of French Guiana as we saw earlier. Sections of western Venezuela, Colombia getting in on the action. Not much taking place across the Central America area. Maybe some isolated pockets of rainfall across sections of Honduras, but that's basically it. Thank you all for watching.